Hello, my name is Carl Neuer, and this is my presentation about homophobia and the fear of coming out. Here's the survey that serves as the basis of my presentation. Basically, it's trying to gauge how accepting and how informed people are of the LGBTQIA community. But before we examine the results, I have an interview with my best friend and his story about coming out.
Hi, my name's Alex. I identify as gay, and I've known for pretty much my whole life. The first person I came out to, I think was my friend Chantal. I did it over MSN Messenger when that was a thing. Oh right, but I actually came out as bisexual to her at the time because I was like not comfortable saying I was gay and tried to trick myself into thinking I was gay. I guess when I was like still coming out, like just like individually, like one by one, the biggest worry was like it would get around to teachers and family and stuff like that. But yeah, and I don't know. I didn't fear a lot. Not that it wasn't a scary experience, like the adrenaline pumped and everything, but I don't think I was super scared of what might happen because I trusted Chantal. I knew who the kind of person she was, and the people I told after that was the same kind of deal. As for fear of when I came out, especially at the beginning when it was case-by-case basis, pretty much everyone was through MSN too. I didn't fear much because I was hiding behind a computer screen, so like what could they do, what could they say? But I don't know, the people I started telling I trusted to not make a big deal out of it, and my friend Chantal freaks out over everything, so to her was kind of just like, oh my god, like what? And like we talked about it for a long time. But like as along with everybody got tired, as I would eventually flip-flop and be like, hey, now I'm bisexual, nah, I'm pretty sure I'm gay, maybe I'm straight. But yeah, so I don't know, I wasn't scared of too much, mostly just if it got around to teachers or people I didn't like that I didn't want to tell yet, or my family. So I found most people to be pretty accepting, but you get the occasional ones who aren't, or who are like, well, how do you know? Or like, have you ever tried with a girl? Which is strikingly more common than you'd assume. But most people are accepting, and sometimes you'd have that little like period of like 2-3 weeks of like standoffish. Some people would go for a few more months. Some people wouldn't tell me and go for a few months, and I'd find out and be really awkward. And some people weren't, and most people like that would be just random people who'd ask me at school, or just mean people, and I didn't care. Right. Oh yeah, and so I was just scared of people being mean, not accepting me, turning their back on me, and like that kind of stuff. And coming out of it now, like looking back on it, I just laugh. It's like it's no big deal. Like it's an aspect about me, but it's not all of my personality. Which was another fear of mine, that I was scared that people would just refer to me as their gay best friend, or kind of objectify that status, and make that my primary personality function. Even so far to the point that I embodied that for a very long time. But yeah, again, looking back at it now, it's no big deal. It's whatever. I like what I like. I like who I like. I don't know. It was all stupid stuff to fear about, I think, but totally valid if you fear about that kind of stuff. So I grew up with 3 girls as a kid, and so as a result, my mannerisms and speech patterns and stuff like that were very much on the feminine side, and I know I'm not the embodiment of masculinity now, but before puberty, this was super high, I was like super flowy, it was an awkward mess. And so in middle school, I got bullied a lot, and called gay and faggot and all those fun things. In high school, it wasn't that bad. Sometimes, like in my grade, I'd be pretty much fine. I'd get some really awkward moments, like, but whatever. But some of the younger kids would be like, in grade 9 and stuff, would like, as I'm walking, would be like, faggot, and like stuff like that. I'd usually yell back, like, even just walking down the street, like, it would be really weird, but occasionally someone from like, drunk kids driving by from a window would like open up and just be like, faggot, cocksucker, like that kind of stuff. It's fun. I usually would yell back obscenities, or I don't know, something stupid like that. But yeah, and I got some from my family and stuff like that. My mom wasn't super supportive for like a good 2 years, but she hid it mostly and that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's better now. I find a lot of more people are more accepting now, and I hear it a lot less. And I even get people, instead of just assuming that I'm one or the other, will ask me, like, hey, are you gay? Are you straight? Of course I'm happy now. Like, why wouldn't I be? I don't have to worry about something as... I hate to say it to be insignificant, but in my mind it really is now. So of course I'm happy now, because I realize it's kind of just whatever, and I like being out, because if someone asks me I don't have to lie, and I don't have to go along with stories to random people, and I don't know, it's fun.
Now back to the results. Question 1, do you know what LGBTQIA stands for? This seems to be split fairly evenly among how many people knew what all the letters meant, what none of the letters meant, and what some of the letters meant. This tells me that the general population has a general understanding of the community and awareness of it. Are you a member of the LGBT community? Of the total amount of people surveyed, 40% were a member, and of that 40%, just over 50% were women, and just over 20% were men. Do you personally know anyone who is a member of the LGBTQIA community? Only just under 20% said no. Majority of people do know someone that is a member of the community, and 70% of people have friends who are part of the community. Now, this graph can be a little bit confusing, so the bottom bar explains that out of everyone interviewed, only 25% of people experience discrimination based on their sexuality. But the top bar indicates that of the LGBTQIA people interviewed, 63 of them have experienced discrimination at some point in their lifetime based on their sexuality. Have you ever discriminated against someone else based on their sexuality? 80% of the people surveyed have not. Only 20% of the people surveyed did. That's still a fairly large number, but hopefully in future years that number will go down. Do you know anyone who actively discriminates against the LGBTQIA community? A whole 35% said they don't know anyone. 45% said relatives, and 30% said friends. I kind of expected that the largest group here was relatives. That didn't surprise me. Are you aware of intersexuality? I was incredibly surprised that 60% of people surveyed said yes. I expected much less people to be aware. I'm happy to know that more people are informed of the existence of intersexuality and their place in the LGBTQIA community. Are you aware of the Kinsey scale, and do you believe it's accurate? 75% of people surveyed aren't aware of the Kinsey scale, and of the 25% that did, only 15% believe in its accuracy. Now, I was surprised to find that a whole 85% of the people surveyed know about asexuality. I was under the assumption that asexuality was one of the lesser known sexualities. Slightly more than the last question, 90% of people believe in the existence of bisexuality. To build off that, again, 90% of the people surveyed believe in the existence of transgenderism as well. Now on to acceptance and relationships. 85% of the people surveyed said they'd be friends with bisexuals, but only 65% of the people surveyed said they would date a bisexual, probably having to do with the stigma regarding bisexual people. And 80% of the people surveyed said they would be friends with a transgendered person, but only 45% of people surveyed said they would date a transgendered person. Now, I understand that people are attracted to what they are attracted to, but it's unfortunate that so many people would let how you're born get in the way of who you are today and have that affect your relationship with them. Now, I asked people to rate on a scale of 1 to 5 how supportive they are of the LGBTQIA community, 1 being not very supportive and 5 being very supportive, and I'm happy to see that only 10% of people surveyed said less than 3. That generally tells me that the majority of people are somewhat supportive of the LGBTQIA community at least. Now, a whole 70% of people surveyed rated a 5 on how supportive they would be of their friends if they came out as LGBTQIA, and this is such a happy result for me. It's very gratifying to see how many people are supportive of their friends and wouldn't let something like sexuality change their relationship with the people they love. It's makes me very happy. Do you think homophobia is still prominent, and do you think it has gotten better in recent years? I put these two questions together because every person surveyed answered the exact same to both questions. 85% agree that though homophobia is still prominent, they do believe it's gotten better. 15% say they don't believe homophobia is prominent, and they don't think it's gotten better in recent years. This tells me that they disregard homophobia and the gay community in general, is what I take away from this. And do you think all genders and sexualities will eventually be accepted worldwide? Only 65% of the people said yes. It shows me that a slight majority of people are fairly optimistic. 35% of people who answered this question are either fairly pessimistic or they don't believe homophobia is wrong. I'm not sure what to make of this data. Uh, what I think it represents is that some people are slightly pessimistic on the view of the state of society, but some people are still hopeful. Now, what can we take away from this data and from this presentation as a thesis? What I find from this research is that a lot more people than I thought are informed about the LGBTQIA community, and more people are accepting of the community than they have been in a while. And for those experiencing hesitation about coming out and those who aren't sure whether they're ready to come out, what you can take away from this data and from what my friend Alex said is that the fears that you build up before coming out, like, the things are a lot smaller than you're making them out to be. Generally, the things that you're afraid of the most aren't going to happen. As Alex said, after he came out, he felt a lot more comfortable with who he was. He felt a lot more comfortable around people as he didn't have to lie or anything. It's just that people are better than we think they are, and though, yes, there are still problems with society, and though homophobia is still prevalent, it's not as bad as we think. Just come out, live your life, and be the person you are. Enjoy who you are. So I'd like to thank you all for sitting through this presentation. I hope you found it both informative and enjoyable and enlightening. I hope you take this message to heart and, understand that things aren't as bad as they seem, and just enjoy life. Be who you are. Okay, have a great day.